All right, in this video, we're going to look at how to find the features of quadratic equations in factored form. So, for example, let's suppose we have this quadratic equation here, and we want to find the features of it. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to find the zeros. So step one, let's find the zeros. The zeros occur when either of the factors is equal to 0. So the first factor is x minus 2. So I'm going to say x minus 2 must be equal to 0. I'm going to solve this here. Here I'm subtracting 2, so I do the opposite. X is equal to positive 2. I can double check that and say if I put a positive 2 in there, I'll get 0 back, so that works. The second 0 here is where x minus 4 is equal to 0. And that would be when x is equal to, I'm going to bring the 4 to the other side, so I'm going to add 4 to both sides. That's going to be x equal to a positive 4. All right, so those are my two zeros. And so that tells me something right away. I know that I have my two zeros. So I'm going to start sketching my graph. Goes off to the side here. So my y-axis and my x-axis. And I know my two zeros are at 2 and 4. So those are my two zeros already. Okay, let's keep going. Now that I have my two zeros, I want to find my axis of symmetry. So that'd be right in the middle of those two zeros. So my axis of symmetry, well, this is going to be an x value, and that's going to be the average of the two zeros. So that's going to be 2 plus 4 all over 2. That is 6 over 2, and that gives me 3. So I know that my axis of symmetry is going to be here when x is equal to 3. All right, so that's where my vertex is going to be. Step 3, I'm going to find the vertex. All right, so to find the vertex for this one here, I know that f of x is equal to x minus 2 times x minus 4. And I know that the vertex happens on that axis of symmetry when x is equal to 3. So that's going to be f of 3. And that's going to be wherever I see x, I replace it with 3. All right, so that's going to give me 1. It's going to give me negative 1. And I get negative 1. So my vertex is going to be 3 comma negative 1. Okay, so I've got my vertex there. So I go over to 3 comma negative 1, and there is my vertex. Okay, and so at this point I've got enough information to sketch a graph of this function. I know my zeros, I know my vertex here, and so I'm just going to sketch a rough graph here showing those key features. Okay, so that's the sketch of my function. My last step here is I'm going to state what my domain and range are. The domain, in words, x can be any value. So what I'm going to state for that is that x is simply any real number. So this belongs to the real numbers. My range, which are my functions. For this, I know that y can be a real number, but I also know that y has to be greater than or equal to negative 1. So it can't be lower than that. It's got to be higher than negative 1. So y is a real number such that y is greater than or equal to a negative 1. And that will be my domain and range. Okay, at this point, I want you to try one. So I want you to take the following function and I want you to try to find its domain, its range, and all of the other features over here. So f of x is equal to, let's say, x minus 5 and x minus 7. And let's see if you can find the key features of that function there. You can also go to www.desmos.com once you've tried to do it by hand, and you can check your graph by using Desmos to see if you found all those key features. Hope this video helped.